welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so go ahead and click give access to eCam, and that just lets me see who is on with us tonight. Otherwise, it'll just say Facebook user or user, and I won't be able to see you and interact with you. So first of all, welcome, welcome to the Daniel Fast Cookbook book launch party. So drop in the comments where you are from and what you are eating for dinner tonight, and then we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and end the countdown, not to keep you waiting any longer. Let me know where you are joining from in the world. I am Chef Ashley Shep, and I am a mealtime strategist, and what that means is I help busy moms get dinner done faster with quick, healthy, and tasty meals. And tonight we are having the Daniel Fast Cookbook Cook and Book birthday book launch party. Today is my birthday, and 3 years ago today, I actually did something similar to this by releasing my Daniel Fast 21-day food and faith journal. And since then, that book has sold almost 4,000 copies. So if you have been with me since then, I super, super appreciate you, and just the commitment that you've had with me over time. And so thank you. If you're new to me, that's fine too. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So, okay, so we have some folks joining from Maryland, Nebraska. They're eating, okay, some smoked chicken wings. Those are not Daniel Fast approved. I think that's DM. But that's okay because you're not on the fast yet, so that's fine. Thank you for the birthday wishes. And we have folks tuning in on YouTube as well. I'm testing out some fancy tech, so that's why you see my phone over here. I'm going to give you an angle where I'm prepping, and you'll also still be able to interact with me here. So, okay, so let's get started. So first off, what is the Daniel Fast? Maybe you are not a Daniel Faster, which is a term I made up. Maybe you're not familiar with what the Daniel Fast is. Maybe you're like, I don't want to go on a fast because I like to eat. Don't worry, I got you. So, what the Daniel Fast is an adjustment in eating habits. You still get to eat, so it's not a dry fast. It's one where you are fasting or abstaining from certain foods. So that means you are not eating meats, sweets, or added sugars. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, what can I eat? So I have some examples. I told my husband this was going to happen. I have my phone propped up a little bit, and I trip over things. But okay, so I have some examples behind me. So some things you can have on the Daniel Fast are all fruits, all vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains. And so I have some examples back here. So we've got some black beans, garlic, northern beans, apples, raisins, and this is actually whole grain pasta. Some versions of the Daniel Fast don't have pasta on it. However, we'll get into that as well because sometimes people tend to be somewhat legalistic about what you can have on the Daniel Fast. And because you can have a whole grain, in this instance, this pasta, the only ingredient is durum wheat. And it's a whole grain. So I say it's okay, but I tell people, like I say in my journal, I'm not Jesus and my book is not the Bible. So you have to make your own personal decision and discernment to decide if you're going to include whole grains. But if you do get the cookbook, then it does include whole grain recipes. So just keep that in mind. You can use swaps instead. Also, there are things like chickpea pasta you can do instead as well. And then tomatoes, getting options that are sugar-free seasoning. So Addy Daddy is one brand that I love and use. It's a Black-owned company in Texas, and real cool guy who's the owner. And so I do use some of the seasonings in the cookbook, and so you'll see those in reference. However, if you don't have Addy Daddy, then you can use something else, and I'll put what it is in the cookbook inside the recipe. So, also, if you have already ordered your copy of the cookbook, go ahead and drop cookbook in the chat because thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Danita, for going ahead and scribing that out for me. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And let me scroll up a little bit. Okay, so we have Rita, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Okay, someone's coming from Detroit and they're not sure what they're having for dinner. So you can actually maybe have this as an option. Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss any. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, we're talking about what the Daniel fast is, what you can eat, and what it's about. And so coupled with the option of having no meat, sweets, added sugars, that means vegetables, whole grains, potatoes. You can have potatoes. I'm a potato lover. I think God really was showing off when he made potatoes, because honestly, you can do so many things with potatoes. So tonight we're going to be using sweet potatoes. Also, you can have things that are derivatives of those items. So you can have nuts, you can have almond butter, but you want to make sure it's an almond butter or nut butter, seed butter that doesn't include a ton of extra stuff in it. Okay? Because we're not doing the added sugars, and a lot of times those get inside of those ingredients. All right, thank you, Betty. She's dropping cookbook. Let me know she already got her copy. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we are going to get started with the actual cooking, and we're going to do a giveaway as well. So make sure you are. Let me check my camera again because I knocked it over. So make sure you're staying in. Staying on. We'll do giveaways throughout. Let me switch my fancy schmancy. Oh. Okay, let me realign. We'll do giveaways throughout, and so you'll be able to have a chance to win some prizes. So our first prize is an entry into the, or not an entry, you'll just get the prize. So the first prize is you will get access to a cooking class with me. If you have already purchased the cookbook and you got the bundle, you already get this. That's a part of the bundle. So I'm going to tell you the prize first, and then we'll do a little story time. And then I'll ask you a question about the story, and then whoever says it first gets the prize. So very teacher me coming out. So make sure your name on the stream says your name. Make sure you clicked the eCam button that gives permission. It's in the description of this post, because otherwise I will not know who you are. So like I can only see certain names. So make sure you click that at the top, okay? All right, so story time. I told y'all that I was going to give a little tea, a little background of things that have been going on with me. And, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to explain. That's what I forgot to finish explaining what the Daniel fast was. So before we get to the tea. So coupled with the difference in eating, you're also increasing your prayer time with the Lord. So you are maybe faithing for something with God. You are potentially wanting something to happen, and you're standing in agreement for that. And so that is ultimately what the Daniel fast is. And you're generally, people do it for 21 days. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. People do it for 21 days. Some people do it for 10 days. Some people do it for 5 days. And if you are on the Bible app, I actually have a Bible plan. Let me get a knife. I actually have a Bible plan for the Daniel fast. And you can find that at danielfastjumpstart.com. And you'll be able to use that. This is not the knife I want. Okay. And it's not prepared. Okay. This is not my favorite knife, but we'll roll with it. So when you're doing the Daniel fast, you are increasing your prayer time. And so if you need something to help you with that, then you can get my devotional at danielfastjournal.com. And I'll put that in the chat. Or you can check out the free option on the Bible plan that I've created, which is the Daniel Fast Jumpstart. And that one is just 5 days. That one does also come with recipes, though, as well, if you need those. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, so that'll show up on my Chef Ashley Shep page. All right, so tonight we are making a sweet potato and zucchini scramble. This is a featured recipe in the cookbook. And so we are going to start with bell peppers. You can use whatever color bell pepper you would like. I am going to actually use yellow because the color just pops a little bit better with what I'm working with. So we're also going to use zucchini. And so use 2 zucchini, 1 bell pepper. We're going to use rosemary. And so rosemary is one of the sturdier herbs that you can use. And so you can cook it a little bit longer than like a cilantro or parsley type thing. And then we have some sweet potatoes. You can use regular potatoes. You can use chayote. You can use any kind of like squash. I'm not a sweet potato person. And then for our seasonings, We are going to use Italian seasoning. We're going to use onion powder, garlic powder, because onion and garlic powder go in everything. If you didn't already know, and I got my good knife, this is what I want instead. And it's green, beautiful. We're going to use avocado oil as well. Then some salt and pepper. And I'm using fresh cracked. You don't have to use fresh cracked. That's totally fine if you want to use something else. This is pink Himalayan sea salt. And I like to call it a salty or salt in taste, but not in actually the effects of salt. It's actually good for you instead of having too much table salt. If you didn't have regular rosemary, you can use, if you didn't have fresh rosemary, you can use dried rosemary instead. That's perfectly fine. And as well, which actually we're not using poultry seasoning, but you could if you want to. So, okay. All right. So, while I chop these, story time will be happening. Remember to listen in for the option for the prizes. So, I'm going to start with the hardest to cut vegetables first. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to start with my onions and peppers. Oh, I'm sorry. And my red onion. You can use a yellow onion, white onion. I'm not one of those people that believes you have to use a certain one for certain things. Yes, they will taste different. However, if all you have is what you have, then that's fine. One thing about the Daniel fast is a lot of people around the world do this fast, and some things are not available in certain places because they're not native there or they don't inherently grow there. And so I wanted to make sure that the cookbook included lots of different options and different substitutes that you could use because everybody doesn't have the same thing that we have here in the United States. Okay. All right, so story time. So one of the things that really helped me on this journey with creating the Daniel Fast Cookbook is, like I mentioned before, I am the author of the Daniel Fast, and it's a 21-day devotional to help you be able to really focus on God, having intentional prayer time, and then also I included recipes on a book bonus site. So the book's on Amazon, and one day, I don't remember when this was last year. One day, somebody left me a 1-star review, and the review said, "There's no," assuming that it was a cookbook, and it's not a cookbook; it's a journal. But because it's a food journal, people kind of got confused. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't really do anything about that. Besides change the wording, make it so it's easier to understand, things of that sort. And so this person eventually found me because I have free items inside the book that are linked to my website. And so they found me and they emailed me, like one word that said like fraud or scammer or something like that. And I was like, this has to be that person that was on Amazon that left me that review. And so I emailed them back and I said, hey, is there something I can help you with? And sure enough, it was that person. And I'm going to do slices with these. So, sorry, I'm not even talking about how I'm doing it. So I cut off the ends because we don't need those parts. I peeled it. And then I'm going to slice this like this. Because we're going to do long strips. And when I hold my knife, you're going to hold it almost as if you are touching the blade, but you're not actually touching the blade. This looks dangerous, but it gives you more control. So, okay. So traditionally, red onions you would use, I like them in salads, but I really like onions, and so they're a little aggressive if they're not cooked. But you can eat them raw as well. So anyway, so she emails me, and we kind of talk things through, and I'm like, okay, well, I understand you didn't see the recipes in the book. They're actually on the book bonus website. And so I led her to the website. She takes the review down. Praise Jesus. I didn't ask her to. She takes the review down and was like, well, actually, I wasn't being that Christian-like. So I'll read the book, use the book. She hadn't even read the book yet. She was just upset because the recipes were not inside the book. So long story short, that's how we got a cookbook, because instead of having people go to a separate place, I wanted them to have one single. So the first question is, if you'd like to win the cooking class, where did the woman leave the review? So drop it in the comments. You have to have your name visible, otherwise it's away. Where did the woman leave the 1-star review, which she later changed? So where did she leave the review? Drop your answer in the comments. And so we're going to start with some avocado oil, and I have a skillet here. And you won't be able to necessarily see both at the same time. But I'm just turning this on over medium heat to get that going. Okay, so next part of story time. This cookbook was supposed to come out last year. However, I had a couple of different things that were happening. And if you saw, okay, online, that's true, but it has to be a little bit more specific. And I can't see your name, whoever typed in online. So the review option is, or the option is still there. Where online? Okay, so I'm tossing these in here in my skillet. I'll let it warm up actually. Okay, so the cookbook was supposed to come out before, according to my time, but God had other plans. And essentially last November, I was working in a place where things just started to become very difficult that way. And it was something that, okay, whoever just typed in Amazon. Oh, let me scroll up. Okay, I think it was Paula that was first. Yes, Paula, you were first. Okay, so send me a DM and just put cooking class so I won't forget. Okay, so I was working in a place where everything that I did just became really challenged. So I previously was in the education space, and I'll just leave it at that. I was in the education space, and it became where my supervisor, not my direct supervisor, but someone above that person, just started creating flat out lies about me. And lies that essentially could easily be disproven, but because they were somebody who was my superior, I wasn't really able to do much. And so, okay, with our bell pepper, I'm slicing it this way. You can do this type of situation, or you can follow the lines, but I'm slicing it this way so I can crack it open in the middle, like that. So y'all getting some tea and some cooking tips all at the same time. So, the Holy Spirit tea, because I'm not saying anything against anybody, because that's their story still. But so it became where the things I was doing that I was hired to do, and the people that I was hired to help, I wasn't able to help them in the way that I needed to help them. And disclaimer, this is not the place that I worked for straight out of college. It's not the place that I graduated from, I'll say that, or the place that I've worked for over 10 years. So it was not that location. And so it became where it was difficult for me to do my job, because if I tried to do my job the way that helped the people I was helping really enjoyed it, but the people who were above me were telling me that I was doing too much, or that I needed to stop doing that, or that it wasn't part of my role there. And so I'm somebody who takes pride out of helping people, and it became something where I just got really, I felt really stifled. I felt stifled in that space. I felt like I can't do what I'm here to do and what my God-given role is here, because every time I try, I'm getting a slap on the wrist, or I'm getting told, well, don't do that. And it became something that was really, sorry, my skillet keeps turning off. Okay. It became something that really blocked me from, so that was one thing. Then in November, we found out we were expecting in September. Come November, I went to an ultrasound appointment, and the ultrasound tech said, well, I see something on the umbilical cord. I'm not sure what it is, but we're going to watch it. And so I said, okay, all right, well, that's fine. And so far as zucchini, I'm cutting off the ends. Okay, so I said, okay, well, all right. And then further and further, the more appointments that we had, they sent me to a specialist, and they deemed that our now son was possibly going to have a birth defect. And I did the genetic testing, things of that sort. And then in December, they tell us, well, we think that he has holes in his heart, but we're not exactly sure. We want to send you to a specialist and get that checked out. And so I said, okay, well, we got to do what we got to do. And of course, at that point, you're devastated. You're not thinking that your child, this unborn person, is going to have to already experience these things that you could never have even dreamed of, or would never wish on anybody. And so then coupled with that, a few months later, they shared that they thought part of his organs were growing outside of his body. And so with a condition called an omphalocele, so when you're a baby, your abdominal wall closes this way. And so for him, they said, well, some of it didn't close. So there's some type of organ that's inside that umbilical cord. And they could never tell us what it was up until this point. They could never tell us what it was. And it became something where it's like, okay, you got to go to testing twice a week. So at that point, I'm 35, and so if you've ever had a baby over 35, they call you geriatric, and you have to do all these extra tests. And so I'm doing that, and I'm stressed at work. And we go to a pediatric cardiologist to get that checked out. And it's just all these things coming at the same time, and it's like, okay, God, this is not, you promised me that, okay, we would have a child, you promised me the child would be healthy, and like, this is not what it's supposed to be. And so let me move this over. So then in the midst of that, I was also in the process of trying to avoid having a repeat C-section, because I had one with my son, and it was something that I found out later was actually not necessary. And it was something that I'm going to move move my dish over so you can see. I found out that it was actually not necessary, to the point where it was just the doctor didn't wait long enough for things to progress, basically. And that's actually a common thing within the obstetrician, whatever the word. You get what I'm saying. That's a common thing with obstetricians nowadays, unfortunately, to be on their time schedule instead of the time schedule of the mom and baby. And so coming off of that, finding that out, and then also, so trying to avoid that, having to switch doctors to a doctor who will approve and even accept you to be able to have your baby the way that your body was intended to. And so all of those things just kind of came to a head in March of this year. And in that time period, and pause there. So, okay, we have our zucchini, and I know this is kind of back and forth, but I gotta cook with what we have. So we have our zucchini, and I chopped them in half, and then I'm gonna chop them into quarters. So March of this year, we were told at my job that, my former job, that our contracts were not going to be renewed for the following year, and that we could re-interview and reapply for the same position. It had a different title. There was a considerable pay cut, but we were welcome to re-interview and reapply. And at that point, I'm 8 months pregnant. So it's like, where else am I going to go? And will anybody even hire me at this point? And so dealing with the heart defects, dealing with the situation, like appointments, it just became something that I was like, okay, God, what are we doing? Like, what is, and I know that might sound disrespectful to some people, but when I talk to God like he's my friend, because like we've been going through it, okay? And so it became where I went through the process, and I said, okay, God, whatever it is what it's going to be. Whatever you want it to be is what it's going to be. And let me check the comments. It's something where, thanks, April. Okay, sorry. I've seen the congratulations now. Thanks, Bianca. Thanks, Bernie. So I'm saying something that obviously I don't have any choice but trust God. So it has to be something where I'm going to trust God through this because I don't have any other options, and I should have been trusting him in the first place, but it's just hard. And I know a lot of us have dealt with quite a bit of challenges over, but just in general, there's a lot of things going on in the world. And it becomes something where you have to really stand on faith. I know people talk about standing on business right now. This will kind of date this. But you have to really stand on faith and understand that whatever it is that you're going through, God's got you. And I'm a testament to that. And so with my sweet potato, I'm chopping off the ends, and I have just a container here, like a trash bowl, so that way I'm not having to run back and forth to the trash can. And chopped off ends, and of course wash this ahead of time. I'm going to chop this into spears, just like I did with the zucchini. So you can kind of see that. And also need to season my onions and peppers. And I did about a half of an onion. And then a whole bell pepper. Onion powder and garlic powder. For the cookbook, because the Daniel Fast is supposed to be something that's a sacrifice, some of the seasoning amounts are a little bit less than I normally do. But at the same time, as you can see, I'm not measuring here. So season until you're satisfied. Do what makes you happy and what you feel good about. All right, so we're getting some nice caramelization on these. And so going back to the story, it was something that I was like, okay, God, well, if you feel like this is where I need to be, then you'll make it happen. If you feel like this is not where I need to be, then obviously it's not where I need to be. All right. Okay, so someone said this looks good already. Thank you. So on this, and this is the reason why I needed this knife, because this is a raw sweet potato. And if you don't have a knife that's like this is called a Santoku knife. And you can cut pretty much anything with this. But if you don't have a knife like this, you can poke your sweet potato or your regular potato 4 or 5 times with a fork and then put it in the microwave for about 4 minutes, and then it'll get a little softer. So I'm going to cut these in the same kind of sphere, like a bowl shape. Okay, so I go through the interview process because I could re-interview and reapply. And that ends up in me not getting the job. Surprise, surprise. And it just became like, okay, well, all right, God, so this obviously is not something that is for me. You've said it. You've shown me that this place is not a place where I'm able to thrive. And so I need to focus on my baby. And so that's what I did. And so that was in March. And then the baby, so with the doctor situation, I ended up changing doctors twice to someone who understood how important it was to me to try to avoid a repeat C-section, because part of the issue was that my son was also potentially going to have surgery when he was born. And he did have to have surgery when he was 2 days old. And so for me, I didn't want to also, and I'm going to shift this so y'all can see a little bit, knowing that he was going to as well. I didn't want to put my husband through that. I also didn't want to deal with the recovery, because if you've had a C-section, it's a lot. Really a lot. And so it's something where I was just very determined, and once again, standing on faith. And once I found out that the risk factors of having a repeat section or having what's called a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after C-section, after C-section. Once I found out that the risk factors of issues or complications for a C-section were the same for having a VBAC, which is what it's called, I said, oh, well, I mean, that's a done deal. Like, why not try? And trying within the parameters of having a safe options, like if something were to go wrong, being at a hospital that can accommodate emergencies if need be, knowing the signs that if there's an issue, okay, this is what you need to do. So my husband and I stood on agreement with that. And so that was really my focus. And that journey, I had to switch doctors. Like I said, I switched twice. The last time I switched was at about 36 or 37 weeks. And so at that point, you're like, okay, God, this is right down to the wire. Like, I know we have the song that's like, he may not come when you want him, but he'll be there right on time. And I'm sure you have felt like, okay, now, all right, God, I mean, I get it. I know you come in, but what are we, once again, what are we doing? Like, when are you coming? Can I plan something? Like, what, that kind of thing. And that's what it became. I'm going to push these off to the side. You can actually also take them out, but I'm going to start my sweet potatoes so they can cook. And so we just have our little spears. You can add extra avocado oil if you want. You don't have to. I'm going to move this closer so y'all can see. Okay, there we go. Drop in one comment if the angles are good for you, if you can see pretty good. I want to make sure your view is working. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks. And praying for your family as well, Veronica. So that became a battle of like, okay, well, I need to make sure I'm at a doctor that's going to approve and that's going to support, because the whole time with the issues with my son, I got to see him twice a week. So even though I was doing 2 twice-a-week appointments, I got to see him more often. And so I got to learn his little personality more often, because if you have a healthy, quote-unquote, nothing wrong with your pregnancy situation, then you don't get to have as many ultrasounds. You don't get to have as many visits. And so I took it as, okay, well, this is an opportunity to see him a little bit more. And I don't take it lightly. And so let me rearrange for this. Okay, thank you for dropping those thumbs up in the ones. So I'm angry about this. Instead of griping about it, I'm going to look at it as an opportunity for God to let me see my son more often. And so later on in the pregnancy, probably about April, we did get confirmation that the heart condition was no more. There was not an issue there. His heart was going to be perfectly fine. They just had to check something once he was born. But the thing they had to check was the exact same thing that all babies have when they're born. There's a portion that has to like stay open and be, I don't know what it's called. I'm not a doctor, but there's a portion that has to stay open in order for things to do what they need to do. And in his case, that was a blessing. And then not too long after that, I had to have an MRI to check on the abdominal situation. And essentially, they were trying to see if it was organ that was inside the umbilical cord. And it was not. so praise God for that. The folks at CHOA, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, are amazing, and I'm so thankful for them. But they were like, we don't know what it is, but it's not a major organ, so we'll just have to see when he's born. So, and I'm actually going to take these out, because what happens is when you overcrowd your pan, then it makes things cook slower. And also, what I could do to speed up the process is add a little bit of water or broth in here. If you're doing the Daniel Fast, you want to do veggie broth. You can either do store-bought veggie broth, but make sure it doesn't have added sugar in it. So I'm going to take this out, and then I'm going to cover it and let it cook a little faster. So heart condition gone, praise God, we didn't have to worry about that. Then the stomach condition, they were like, well, we don't know what it is, but we want to make sure that we want to watch it, because he might have to have surgery when he's born. So then come to the time of delivery. Actually, let's do another giveaway before we get to the end. Okay, let's see. So, okay. So name the month that these shenanigans at work started. We'll start with I can't think of anything else now. So name the month that the stuff at work started. And your giveaway will be a digital copy of the book and access to the cooking class. And then we'll do another giveaway at the end as well, which will be the biggest one. So on April, I get the MRI, and then, okay, so at this point, once you have your first kid, your second kid, usually they can come whenever they want to, but really babies come whenever they want to. So later on in the pregnancy, because I'm trying for a VBAC, which is a aborting a repeat C-section. And so just to get a little look at that. Nice caramelization. These have not been cooked yet, because the sweet potatoes will take longer to cook than the zucchini will. And I'll leave those little onions in there for now. Okay, so let's see. Anybody? Oh, not March. That was when I found out about the job stuff. May. No, not May. That was when he was born, so it was before that. And I can ask a different question if I might have omitted that part, or maybe you weren't here yet. Okay, so we get to go time. It's the last few weeks before he's born. Work is still doing what work is doing, but I have a different perspective about it, because you cannot control what other people do. You can only control what you do. And that's something that God showed me. I already knew that, but it's something that God showed me increasingly more during my time there. And so the last few weeks, I'm just like, okay, getting really impatient. If you've had a baby, like, it's for things to happen. And my doctors would not induce me, because I was trying to avoid a C-section. And if you've had one C-section, if you're induced, it increases your risk of issues. So they didn't want to induce me. Oh, okay, Denise, November, you got it. Okay, so send me a message, Denise, with cookbook and PDF. So I will remember to send that to you. So they didn't want to induce me, so I had to go into labor on my own. Let me get some water real quick for this. And so at that point, I'm like stressing. I got to make sure I go into labor on my own. And, the green beans. I forgot about those. Okay, got to make sure I go into labor on my own. And I did with my first son, but he was late. He was like 3 days late. Or 3 days after his expected due date. He wasn't actually late, because due dates are estimates. Only 4% of people deliver on their due date. So that last week before, I'm just like, okay, God, like, I got to, like, if I make it to this point, like, if I make it past a certain number of weeks, 41 weeks, my doctor was like, okay, we're going to schedule you for a repeat C-section. I said, I'm not coming, because my baby's going to come on his own. At one point, I was going to pick up my older son, the pint-sized boss that some of you may know, Baby Chef Shep, which he's 4 now, so he's not a baby anymore. Got to change his name. So it came where I'm on the way to get him. I'm just like listening to praise and worship music in the car, and I just got to pull over, because I'm just overwhelmed with just frustration and just doubt, because I'm like, okay, God, you said that this is what it's going to be, but my doctor needs to come into agreement. So literally went into labor the next day, because that's how God works. And not that it's always immediately, but he's like, okay, all right, okay, let's go. So, and it ended up being where I went into labor at home. I'll speed through this part to go a little faster. Went into labor at home. The hospital that my doctor delivered at was downtown Atlanta, and I'm in Gwinnett. So if you're not from Atlanta, it's 30 minutes without traffic. That morning of my delivery, it was 45 minutes, and I'm having contractions. been up since 2 a.m. Oh, 3 a.m. I took a nap at 2. Went back to sleep, woke up at 3, and like we're going. I'm doing all the positions, things like that, to get this baby to come out on his own. And when it's go time, it's like 6 a.m. It's 45 minutes. Then a little bit later, it's an hour because I cannot get out of the house. I can't get up. I'm like, I can't go. And so EMS has to come get us. Yes. The fire department, the paramedics, they come and get us because my husband calls because he wasn't going to try to carry me down the steps while I'm having these different painful situations. And praise God for him because he was doing what are called hip squeezes, which if you've never had, sorry, this is kind of going a little bit maternity, but a thing that helps with the contractions. And so EMS comes and gets us, and we arrive at the hospital, ready to go. Baby is here 90 minutes later. Unmedicated because there wasn't even time for that. So praise God for that. Got toward the first hurdle, and did it exceedingly and abundantly because I hadn't planned to have an unmedicated labor, and I had a C-section the first time. I had an epidural the first time. No like big deal either way. Whatever you choose is what you choose. But the fact that I didn't really have a lot of pain until probably the last like 2 to 3 hours. I could feel it, but it wasn't unbearable until those last 2 to 3 hours at that point. And we stopped doing the hip squeezes, so it's probably why. But praising God for that. And then they whisk baby away. I don't get to feed him because they have to check out that stomach thing. He ends up getting said, I'm up in Gwinnett, so we had to go to a Gwinnett hospital because I was not going to make it an hour in the car or in the EMS. And hospital. So I'm in the hospital up here in Gwinnett by myself. My baby's not with me. My husband went with the baby. Let me stir this because it smells like it's burning a little bit. All right. So for this, adding this also makes it not as crunchy. So if you're somebody who likes, you want crunchy potatoes or sweet potatoes, don't put a lid on it because it will steam. However, it also helps it cook faster. So I'm going to add some onion powder and garlic powder to this. And if in the cookbook it says 2 teaspoons of these each and 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Whoops, that came out a little bit. But, you know, season with your heart and add a little bit more water. And then when my sweet potatoes are about halfway done, I'm going to add in the zucchini. Zucchini also has water in it too. It's a very water-based vegetable. You can also use squash as well. Okay. All right, so we'll let that keep going. And then while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and pluck my rosemary and show you how to do that. And so rosemary, like I said, it's a pretty hardy herb. And you can kind of see the twig there. So wash it off just like with water. And then when you want to pull it, you're going to go the opposite direction of the stick. So, and I could make this a little smaller if I want to by just kind of plucking it a little bit. You'll use 2 sprigs of rosemary. If you're using dried, you can use 1 to 2 tablespoons. Totally up to you. Thyme would also work really well in this, and you can use dried thyme as well. And this smells amazing as well. So one thing that's great about the Daniel Fast is you can have plants and seasonings and spices or plants. I know some people who decide to not use seasonings for the Daniel Fast, and that's totally okay if that's you just wanted to what's your level of sacrifice. Let me tilt this a little bit. Okay. All right, let me check the comments. Okay, is this something you would try? Let me know in the comments. Drop a 2 in the comments if this is a dish that you would try. And this is the sweet potato and zucchini scramble with rosemary. All right, so I'm going to, I did about half of it. I'm going to add a little bit more because I like rosemary. If you don't like it, just do a smaller amount. Oh, and you're welcome, Denise. Thanks for participating. We have one more giveaway to do, and we also will do a preview of the inside of the book if you have not seen it yet. We have the updated version. So I'm going to add my zucchini. And the level of crunchiness, like I said, depends on what you prefer. So if you like your veggies really soft, then definitely add that water in there. And actually, I might do one more zucchini. So one thing that I love about this is it's flexible. If you want to add more of that. Let me rinse this off. Okay. Like if I wanted to do more bell peppers, I could. I'm the only one in my house that eats bell peppers right now, so I didn't do that. All right. So, okay, back to story time, and we have one more giveaway. Lord. Okay, so baby gets whisked away to the children's hospital. I'm at the regular hospital, and I'm thinking, okay, I got my VBAC. Yes, victory. But I'm here by myself, and normally I would be with my kid. And so I need to think about, okay, what can I focus on? And so I chose to nurse and pump. And so that's what I focused on. I'm going to use this time to rest. And Children's Healthcare of Atlanta was amazing about doing check-ins. So they would text me with what's going on. They would let me know what the updates were. And of course, my husband did as well. But it was just nice to have another option. I'm going to go ahead and add in the Italian seasoning as well. And you could serve this with brown rice. If you have someone who is not on the Daniel Fast, you can use chicken tenders because they're already kind of the same size as this. And that would work well. So in the cookbook, it says 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. What am I cooking in? Okay, good question. So this is a skillet. I'll see if I can zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this is a skillet. I normally would do this on my stove, but because I'm cooking for you all, I want y'all to be able to see. And it just has a temperature control over here. Hopefully you can do that. There, just a temperature gauge. So I'm over medium heat with this. I can send the link to it if you let me know more, because it's all right, so I'm going to put the lid back on here. All right, so baby's at the actually, I'm going to do a little bit more, because I want to cook this a little fast. And I'm going to add these back in, too. Just because I like them. And so we've got some really nice colors going on here. And one thing I like about this dish is it's pretty foolproof. Since you're not using meat, you're not having to worry about, am I going to make somebody sick? You just are cooking it to your level of completion. So, oh, I forgot salt and pepper. Oh, no. I'm over here talking. Now, because I don't use seasonings that have salt in them unless it's Addy Daddy, because they already have the pink Himalayan sea salt in them, you are going to want to make sure that you check your salt amounts on your seasonings, because sometimes they include them, sometimes they don't. And I should have been doing this throughout, but I was talking. But, okay. That should be good. Let me stir this. Okay, so the surgery happens for the baby on day 2 and you're going to be whisked away. And then you're going to have surgery. And so grappling with that and understanding, I knew that was a possibility. And so husband and I were just praying that everything was safe. And doesn't this just look so good? Okay, so grappling with that. And then thinking, okay, like, all right, you're a NICU mom. Like, your kid's in the NICU, and that's okay. He's going to be fine. They made a joke about how he was the biggest baby in the NICU because he was structurally, his heart was fine. He was growing like he should be. It just was this thing in the umbilical cord. Is that they went in to see what it was. They didn't let him eat until they checked it out. And they came out, and they were like, okay, well, actually, it was his appendix. And since you don't need it, we just went ahead and took it out. Okay, seriously, how is that not God? Like, you're telling me that the only thing in his umbilical cord that was an issue that he possibly could have needed to have taken out later, because my husband had to get his taken out, was his appendix. And so he got it taken out 2 days of life, and at 2 days of life, and just the relief, the sense of reassurance that he wasn't going to have any long-term issues because the condition they were telling us, it was pretty serious. It was your intestines are in your umbilical cord. It's not in the right spot. But in his case, it was his appendix, and he doesn't need that anymore. I was like, okay, God, real funny, like funny, haha. Like we could have done this another way. But it was something that really stretched me, of course, personally, and my husband, really stretched us and stretched our faith, because not knowing how your child's going to be, not knowing how this helpless person that you've created, how they're going to be until they get here. And then they get here and then they immediately have to have surgery. It's just something where you have no choice but to trust God. In our case, there was no choice that we had but to trust God. And when I tell people, they're like, what? Like, this is crazy. And so that ended up being, so he stayed in the NICU for a couple more days. And then I was reunited with him once I was discharged. I did have a little thing they wanted to check, but I ended up being fine. And then now, fast forward, he's a healthy, happy 7-month-old, and he has no lasting conditions, no issues. Oh, I left out a part of the story, y'all. So because I was focusing so much on my child, getting him here, I wasn't even worried about work stuff. And so my contract did end with that company, and in June, the end of June. And so since then, I've been doing mommy life full time. So I've been a stay-at-home mom full time. I've been working on my businesses, so full-time entrepreneur. So I guess splitting half and half. But and then a little bit of contract work with a company. But essentially, it's been where I am able to spend time with my son, able to focus on Chef Ashley Shep and Shep Publishing House, and able to grow these things. And it's something where, had I been working at that place full time, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And so it's just another way that God has shown up in a way that I didn't expect, because I've always said, oh, I don't think I'd be a stay-at-home mom, but here we are almost a year later, and this is what we're doing. And it's a blessing to be able to do that, because not everybody has that as an option. All right, let's check and see. Hey, AC, thanks for the birthday, love. That's my nephew out in Vegas. All right, so this looks really good. Okay, then we have our last done, and then we'll do a preview, and then we will wrap up. So if you are doing this, like I said, for people who are not doing the Daniel Fast, could have the option of using chicken sausage. You could do chicken tenders. You would season it with the same ingredients that you've been doing. And then everything will taste similar. And let's see. Yes, Brother Conrad said grown man stuff from birth. Yes, and my husband had to have his appendix taken out 10 days after we got married. So we make a joke that our son was like, well, nope, I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way. No problem. And what's another God thing, a God nod of like, okay, yes, this is totally a God thing, is that the place where my husband got his appendix taken out was right across the street from the children's hospital where my son had to get his taken out. And so it's something where there's no other way that this could have been orchestrated. This is totally a God thing. And so let me know if you would try this. This is one of the featured recipes in the cookbook. And we're going to segue into a preview of the cookbook and then do our last giveaway, and then you all will be out of here. So I'm going to try with my fancy software to be able to show you what it looks like. And I really appreciate and thank you for, let me tilt this up a little bit. I really appreciate and thank you for your time, for coming. This is something where I have used it as a labor of love. And it's something where I know bless a lot of people. Oh, in the comments, okay, could plant-based butter be used? Good question. So, I am someone who believes that when you are doing the Daniel Fast, you have to decide how much you're going to stretch yourself. So, what exactly it is that you're going to sacrifice and where you're going to kind of stay the same. So, like for me, paprika when I'm on the Daniel Fast, because for me, that's my favorite seasoning. And if I were to use it, then it's not really a sacrifice for me. Now, you will find smoked paprika in the cookbook, because maybe that's not your favorite. But it's something where you have to think about personally, is this a sacrifice? So is using butter, even if it's a plant-based butter, is it a sacrifice for you? Or is it something that you feel like you can kind of hold off on? Or you're like, I need this plant-based butter because if I don't use this, I'm not going to eat anything. Then okay, then that's fine. But you just have to kind of decide. I got lipstick on my teeth, sorry. You have to kind of decide what's a sacrifice for you. That's a good question. And another part of the Daniel Fast is eating whole foods, and I don't mean whole foods like not the restaurant. I mean whole foods like the grocery store. Whole foods that are whole ingredients. And so oftentimes with those, I don't want to call them fake, basically fake, those fake things, you have to be careful because you are introducing something that is not in its original form, and often they'll add a ton of extra ingredients, a ton of extra chemicals, and then it becomes not something that you are, even that's a more complex item than it really needs to be, and then it's not the simplistic nature of the Daniel fast. Because from the Bible, there isn't a clear-cut list of things that Daniel didn't eat. It's a dissertation for us as believers and in this day and time to decide, okay, well, is this something that is this stick or simple or unrefined? The different translations of the Bible, some of them say he also didn't bathe. Most modern day believers are going to still bathe during the Daniel fast. And so it's something where you have to just decide where is your faith and what level of stretching you want to do. And I know that's a long answer, but I hope that that's your question. All right, so we have our dish, and now we're going to do our cover reveal. Okay, we're going to do our cover reveal and our last giveaway. So let's switch my camera. Okay, thanks. Someone said it looks good. I was supposed to be adding comments onto the broadcast, but I did not, so now I'm doing it now. Had to give you all the tea and the and then cook this and make sure I didn't burn it. So I'll move this. All right, can't wait to use the cookbook. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you haven't ordered the cookbook just yet, the link is danielfast.com. And if you have already ordered the cookbook, then I'll be sending you updates continuously. I just talked to the printer today, and she is sending the proof. You're welcome, no problem. She's sending the proof my way. It'll be here in a couple days, and so I'm excited. I will do an unboxing so you can see that too. If you haven't gotten yours, then you want to go ahead and pick up your copy, danielfastmeals.com. And today is the last day to get the bundle. And in the bundle, you'll get a spiral. It's the heavy-duty spiral, the coil, and the hardcover is going to be the lay flat hardcover. And then you'll get a cooking class with me, making at least one or two of the recipes, at least one, obviously, making recipes from the book. And then you'll get a PDF version of the book that you can print out, because I am including grocery shopping lists and meal plans. So that way, if you want to print it out and put it on your fridge, so your kids will stop asking you, what are we eating for dinner? You can point to it and tell them that's what we're having. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And so that is for the bundle. And then for just the cookbook, you're more than welcome to just get that. That's perfectly fine too. Those items that are in the bundle will be available after, but they won't be free as a part of the bundle. So something to keep in mind. And the bundle's only $10 more than the cookbook, so you might as well get the cooking class and the other items, as you might as well get the cooking class. And if you just get the cookbook, I am still including the PDF. So, all right, now I'm going to reveal the cover that you all voted on. And if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat as well. Because I know that, let me switch cameras. I know that I might have missed them throughout. So if I did, please just go ahead and add those now. And I'm going to put this back in our dish. I'll give you a moment for that. And I did turn it off. I'm going to plate this. Do just camera so you can see. All right, and I did turn this off earlier. It's just sizzling a little bit. And this is a meal that stretches really well. You can pair rice with it. You can add it. Ooh, drop the zucchini. You can add it on top of a bed of salad instead. That's an option as well. Okay, doesn't that look delicious. Let me move this out of the way. Alright. So we got our sweet potato. Thanks, Charmaine. She said it looks yum. And thank you again, Danita, for scribing this out. Okay, so we got our zucchini. We've got our sweet potato. Turn it this way. We've got our bell peppers. And you can, like I said, you can use any other bell pepper. It doesn't have to be this. Let me move this. It doesn't have to be this one. You could use an orange one. I just used the yellow because I was thinking visually we eat with our eyes, and I didn't have any yellow in there. A red would work really nice with that too. And honestly, the only difference between the different types of bell peppers is how long they have grown. So your green bell peppers, they are, how can I describe this? They are picked first, and then then it just goes to the rainbow. So then yellow would be here, orange, and then red. So the longer gestation, then the longer or the sweeter they are. So that's why red bell peppers are not sweet, but they are sweeter. So, all right, let me know in the comments, would you try this? Okay, so Danita says it looks delicious. Excellently Imperfect said it looks really good. Thank you. Charmaine said yum. All right. Hey, Jay, thanks for tuning in. She said yum as well. And if you're somebody who's watching your sugar, then this is a good option because, of course, the sweet potato does have some sugar, but it's natural sugar. And so we talked about earlier that let me put my little face, getting fancy. Okay. That on the Daniel Fast, you are abstaining from added sweets, added sugars, extra sort. But if it's a naturally occurring sugar, then it's fair game. You can have it. So that's totally fine. Hey, Tamara, thanks for tuning in. Okay, Facebook user, let me know who you are. Go ahead and add that underneath. Okay, Paula said she would try this. All right, so now I'm going to show you the cover. Fingers crossed, prayers up that I'm doing this properly. And so the voting of the cover, so build up before that. The voting of the cover is something that I always have a lot of fun with because people get to share their opinions and their ideas, and they are able to really think like a marketer and really think like a book publisher. And so the two options were, we had a cover where there were some fruits and not fruits, Lord. There were vegetables. There were vegetables on the side. And then there was an option where there were no vegetables on the side and it was just the cover. And it was something where people got to pick and choose what they liked. I had a favorite and I was hoping that the favorite would win. And so now I'm going to show you. All right, prayers. Here we go. Clicking the button. Hopefully it works. This is the cover concept. That's the wrong screen. Let me do this. Okay. Oh, wait, no. Not entire screen. Okay, sorry. Now. All right, so this is the cover. That was the winner. So if you voted for this one, let me know in the comments. If you voted for the other one, I will probably still use that concept for a future cookbook. And so this is the winner of the cover. There will still be some adjustments, so this is not the final cover, but this is the direction that we're going to go in. And so thank you so much for voting for this, and let's go ahead and do a walkthrough of what the book will actually look like. So, all right. Okay. I'm going to flip through and move my face over for you. Okay, yeah, you should be able to see it that way. All right, Denise, thank you, Paula. Conrad, I'm gonna ignore your side eyes. That's my brother. He's silly. So this is what the cover looks like, and then we're gonna flip through the book. And so throughout, I tried to make sure we included lots of different pictures of different meals and freebies for you as well. And so Okay, running joke. So if you've known me for a while, you know that I do not like mushrooms. I did a post earlier today about that for the mushroom lovers because it's not me. I don't like mushrooms. That's a thing. But I know that my followers do, and so I wanted to make sure I included an option for you. So enjoy that because I will not be. Um, and then so the front part of the book talks about just the Daniel fast and how I became someone who um, is, I'm just gonna say, known for it. Goodness, okay, that sounds so weird, but I guess after selling almost 4,000 copies of a book, and that you can start to be known for that. And so anyway, okay, little bit of a metacognitive moment. Okay, so I talk about my Daniel Fast journey, and oh, okay, Conrad says we anticipating the cover reveal. Okay, you self brother. All right, then we got the medical disclaimers, and that's because they're changing your eating habit. You need to consult your doctor because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm a mealtime strategist, and I make food taste good. I hope you get healthy and healthy meals so you can stay out of the kitchen and not be there as long. So Jay said, what is this mushroom blasphemy? Yes, I know. I don't like it. I won't go into the reasons why, but it's just, I'm not a fan. And later on, I explain my plan, prep, pray method, and really the structure of the book. So the meal planning portion is actually what slows a lot of people down whenever you're cooking or whenever you're thinking about what to eat. People think that it's really the food. People think that it's really the preparation of the food that takes the longest or that is the most complicated. But honestly, it's the fact that you might not have planned for the meal. You haven't decided, oh, I need to get this from the grocery store, or I need to make sure I have this dish clean, or I need to have X, Y, and Z. I need to have these seasonings. You don't have all of your items there. And like, for example, within this, I have the grocery shopping list for you. They're done. I have the meal plans for you, so that way you're not having to worry about those options for yourself as you're doing the Daniel Fast. And actually, let me... Okay, well, I'll leave our dish there for now. Okay, so then the prep portion, that's where, of course, we have our recipes. And so I go over that, and I'm going to flip a little faster. And so just flipping through. And then, of course, also I've included Bible verses to give you inspiration. Okay, sorry, y'all, my scroller. Okay, let me just use this over here. All right, so front portion of the book, that's really just getting yourself together, and food storage, so understanding where to store certain foods so they don't go bad. I talk about meal prep strategies, so that way you're able to, once again, get your meal done faster. And then we talk about the foods that you can eat. So someone who asked, okay, can you have this plant-based butter? Can you have X, Y, Z? So I talk about the things you can have, the things you probably should think about, and then the things you probably want to avoid. So foods you can eat. These are all the different types of foods that you can eat. And so those are listed out. And then we have foods that you avoid and really are not able to have on the Daniel Fast. I also include some support throughout, so you'll find QR codes that include videos I've done or strategies or tips that will help you. So, sorry. So if you just scan them with your phone, so if you take your phone's smart camera and you place it over the QR code, then you're able to actually pull up that resource. So some of them are cooking videos, other ones are videos that are just strategies. So that one was talking about the names of sugar. And then, so these are foods to think about in the yellow. And then, of course, I have a section about seasonings because we want to make sure that you are ready and able to focus on your things. You decide not to. And I give some recommendations for that as well. All right, now the part you're probably waiting for is the recipes. So let's dig in to those. All right. And so, oops, I forgot, meal planners. So meal planning, this is the structure. I've created 2 different types of meal plans for you because I know people are different. Some people want to have that flexibility where they can add in their own meal plans. Other people want to know exactly what they're eating at all times. So they don't want to have to worry about what am I getting when. So that's here. Okay. And then with that, we have the grocery shopping list. So if you are going to use the meal plan that's completely filled in, then I've included the grocery shopping list as well with those. And the servings are for 4 to 6 people. And so it's notated on the recipes, and you'll be able to know, okay, well, is this something that I can cook and have extra for? Or is this just something that's a one-time thing? And so those will be what helps you out with that. Sorry, I scrolled too fast on that. Okay. Then I've also included some practical application. And let me go back. So what you can do when you're eating out, because at some point you're probably going to want to eat out on the fast. Extra places for you to add in what groceries you want to have for snacks and things like that. And so section just for you are going to be kind of hungry on the Daniel fast. All right, so let's get to the recipe portion. For each of the recipes, I've included this page to show the structure and the outline. The ingredients are listed when you're cooking. Sometimes it's hard to see and go back and forth to know, okay, what am I on? What step am I on? So we have numbered steps, because I know for me, when I'm cooking, I don't usually use a recipe, but when I'm cooking, if I'm trying a recipe that I want to try out or test out, I want to know, okay, where did I leave off? Also, the bold print helps me to know, okay, I need to get these 5 things. If you have somebody who lives with you, but they don't do the cooking, one thing you can actually have them do is look at the recipe and get the ingredients. So they don't have to do any actual cooking. Just have them flip to that page. We're making this tonight for dinner, or I'm making it tonight for dinner. I need you to get these ingredients out. And that way they can lay it out for you. That's actually a cooking strategy, is to lay out all of your stuff ahead. I had everything laid out. And that will help you to spend less time in the kitchen. Exactly right. Yes, making it easy. All right. So first up, we have breakfast options. And let me go back. Page. So we have breakfast options. And for these, I picked ones that were easy for you to create, but also ones that you wouldn't get tired of because there's variety to them. So I'll scroll through a couple of them. And so these are the oatmeal jars. You might have seen me post this a little while ago. I love these because, hey Essie, thank you. I love these because there's so much variety of what you can do. So I've given some suggestions of different combinations over on this side. So like banana nut, strawberries and cream, bananas and coconut, oat berry. So that way you have options and flexibility, and these are make ahead options. And so y'all know I like to make stuff ahead of time, because when it's time to eat, I want to eat. And I have 2 little ones, and so I don't always have time to be in the kitchen all day. So these are options you can make ahead. And then within each recipe, and I'll just keep kind of scrolling through, with each recipe, I give chef tips. So these are expert tips for you, or prep steps to help you to be able to make your food. I've also included a space for you to leave a rating, and you will not hurt my feelings because I will not see your rating. But out of 5 stars, so rating the recipe, because you want to know next time you make this recipe on another day, did I really like that? Did I not like that? I don't remember. And each of them also have a place for you to put notes and changes, because I encourage you and want you to make changes to the recipes so that they fit with what you want them to be. All right, now on to the main entrees. So I'm going to just scroll through. So we've got some stuffed peppers, our 1-pan vegetable scramble that's on the cover, our Greek pizza, tempeh, which is a protein substitute made out of soy. We have some stuffed squash. This is a Cajun dish. And one thing that I really love about the recipes I included, which that sounds so like arrogant, but one thing I'm excited for you and love for you is that they are options that will help you to be able to cook more efficiently. They're simple recipes. All of them are things that you can find in your local grocery store, or if you grow your own fruits and vegetables. I try to include things that were easy for you to be able to use. Jar salads are always great options. And I've included make ahead options, something you're spending forever in a day while you're doing the Daniel fast, or while you're just throughout the year, because if maybe you're someone who just wants to eat more plants. And so this is an option where you could just make a recipe a week. There's over 50 recipes, so you could say, okay, I'm going to make one plant-based recipe a week and add some more plants, vegetables, fruits into my diet. All right, so we got some. This looks delicious. The parfait looks delish. Thank you. Okay, bold print and numbers are great. Good idea. Most cooks are multitasking, and we lose our places all the time. Girl, yes, I sometimes, and so that is why it's helpful for me to have those things in there as well. So good point. Let me add that to the broadcast. Excellent point, Essie. All right, and then Okay, sorry. And then this page that I'm on is actually one that for your folks that got the digital copy, you might actually want to print this out and put it on your fridge. I'm giving you permission. If you bought the book, I'm giving you permission. Because you can take a screenshot too if you didn't buy the book. Because this is a great setup. What you see on the previous page of me with those jar salads, this is a great option, especially if you just need a quick lunch, need something healthy, and they're visually appealing. And so this shows you the order that you should make your jar salads if you make them, and then what kind of things you can include. Now, when you're off the Daniel fast, you can add animal protein, so like chicken, shredded chicken, things like that, bacon, stuff like that. And then, okay, we got our fajitas. For the folks like Jay Stone, she said I had mushroom blasphemy earlier. Okay, thank you so much. Love the vibrant colors. Okay, and Essie likes tempeh. All right, you've had it before. Okay, all right, got some tempeh folks in the group or on the live. All right, so essentially that is, I'm just gonna flip through a couple more. But so if you haven't gotten your copy yet, definitely go ahead and get your pre-sale bundle, because you'll get a cooking class with me and with all the other folks that got their bundle. And then you also get a PDF copy of the book. If you just want the cookbook, I will still give you a PDF copy in case you want to start your Daniel fast before your book arrives to you. Okay? So, all right, let me check the stream in case there's any more questions. Okay, so, oh, thank you so much, Catherine. She said the smoothies look great for breakfast. Yes, smoothies are a great option for breakfast, and you can make them ahead as well. Okay, my mom said, great idea about the star and notes. Thank you. There is a lot of variety. Yes, so Essie said she notices that there's a lot of variety. I tried to make it so that it wasn't something you would get bored of, and so that there are recipes that you can actually include throughout your time, whether you're fasting or not. And so that was important to me, to have variety and options for you. And so that's the recipe portion. Let's kind of skip down to, let me go to the snack page. So I came up with 55 snacks that you can have while you're on the Daniel fast. So there's no reason for you to be hungry. Okay, then let's go down to the last section of the book, which is the pray section. And so if you are specifically doing the Daniel fast, there are some things that you want to be mindful of to help you out on your journey. And that's making sure you are preparing for your fast with God, spending time before your fast, deciding what it is that you want to faith for and what you want really focus on for your fast. And so, yes, so to get your copy, you can visit danielfastmeals.com. And I'll put that link in the chat for you. Just danielfastmeals.com. Thanks for that. And so, and I'll add the link. Okay. So you want to prepare for your fast intentional. You want to decide how you are going to spend intentional time connecting with God. And it could be that you are going to do your prayer time in the morning. Maybe you are going to do your time at night, which I don't generally advise because you're probably going to fall asleep. But for some people, that is what works better for them. And that's okay. And so you have time for daily devotionals and making it so that your daily devotionals are consistent. So whether you're using the Bible app, sorry, some of my lipstick got caught. Whether you're using the app or if you need a copy of my Daniel Fast Journal, danielfastjournal.com, you can use that as your daily devotional, because some people are doing the fast together, some people are doing it by themselves. You just want to stay connected in some shape or form. And if you need some type of community, then you can join my Facebook group that I have, the Daniel Fast with Chef Ashley Shep, and then you can have community there because maybe you're doing it solo. Then you want to make sure you're sticking with your recipes and meal plan, and then have a focus for each day and each week. And then I've added some scriptures in the back of the book to keep you encouraged as well. And of course, because eventually you're going to get off the Daniel fast, even though you might still make the recipes, these are some strategies and tips to help you so that you are able to know how to get off the fast, because it can be a transition. You don't want to just go get a steak the next day. That's not really, your body's not going to be happy about that. You probably don't want to go get some deep fried fish or something like that after the fast. You want to transition so that you are intact and everything works as it's intended to, and I'll leave it at that. So, all right, and then just the last parts of the book show a few little general back of the book items. And so learning more about me, sharing with other believers or other non-believers, and then additional resources to help you out, as I've mentioned, such as the Daniel Fast Jumpstart devotional, which is on the YouVersion Bible app. That's a 5-day plan. 6-day plan, I'm sorry. And then the Daniel Fast 21-day food and faith journal that you can use to help you to be able to stay on track for your Daniel Fast. So it has been a pleasure. I appreciate each of you for joining. Last giveaway. Okay. Okay, the last giveaway. Name the closest person who can say how many recipes there are in the book. I said over a certain amount is the first. They will get a either a hardcover or spiral, you can pick, and you'll get a cookbook as well as, hardcover, and you'll get your cooking class as well as the PDF. So whoever can name the closest number that reflects the amount of recipes that there are in the cookbook. And I'm gonna switch back screens while y'all do that. Okay, let's see. So drop that in the comments. How many recipes are in the cookbook? Whoever gets the closest number wins a book bundle. Okay, let me. And it does take a little bit of time. So, or if you have other questions, you can drop those now too. Okay. Do our dish in that. Okay. Oh, they're coming in. They're coming in. Let me see. Let me scroll up. Okay, Afua said 55. Essie said 50. So it was, I did say over 50, and Afua was the first. So you are the winner for that. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And if you haven't gotten your journal, the bundle deal ends tonight. You will still be able to purchase the book after that, and eventually it will be on Amazon. However, for now, it's going to be exclusively at danielfastmeals.com. And I'll stick around for about 30 more seconds to see if I have any other questions. Thank you for participating. I'm looking at some of these guesses. Yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, thank you, Danita, for adding that. Okay, yes. So there are 53. It's either 52 or 53. That's the actual number, but Afua was the first to get it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate it, and have a blessed evening.